is the Business Breakfast on the UAE's #1 talk radio station.
Dubai Eye 103.8.
Let's move from oil to the other Dubai commodity, which is, of course, the housing market. Real estate also moving the needle in the economy here, and we have quite the cracker of a May report coming out from Zan Jahinki, Chief Number Cruncher, but to give him his official title, COO of Property Monitor and Director of Market Intelligence and Research at Cavendish Maxwell. He does this every month. It's not the first record that he's noticed. Morning, Zan.
Very good morning to you.
Right, tell us this month's record.
I think we've titled the report My Oh May, and was it a May? We have hit a brand spanking new transaction record of over 17,000 properties sold in a single month. That eclipses the previous record way back in 2009 by about 20%. So we've rocketed. If you go back and think pre-COVID, we were doing 2,500, 3,000 transactions a month. And that was a good market where lots of deals were happening. So the volume of transactions that are happening now is absolutely astounding. It's been driven largely by Offplan. About 67% of that market, those transactions are off-plan properties.
Okay, because that was going to be my question. Everyone says that you can't find a house for love nor money, so how are we managing to sell so many of them?
It's the off-plan market. I mean, if you look, so up to the end of April, we're at 40,000 properties that had come to market on the off-plan space, so units. We're still doing the numbers for May. It's going to push it over 50,000. So we're looking at more than 10,000 units in the off-plan market coming for sale a month. They're going to materialise and hand over 3, 4, 5 years from now, depending on which the project is. So you've got a lot of people that haven't been able to find something in the ready market to move in, and they're making that compromise for, look, I want to get something, I want to lock in a price now, I'll buy something off-plan and then move in 3 to 4 years' time.
So talk to me about price, because that's the number of houses that are being sold, but what are we seeing in terms of what they're transacting for?
Yeah, so anyone that listens to me prattle on will know that I don't like seeing price growth sort of above 1% month on month, because it starts to run away, right? 10% or more price growth in a year is starting to get scary. We started this year sub 1% for a couple of months, and then 2 months after that, we had really big spikes, right? One of about 2%, then 1.5%. It's started to moderate again, 0.69% last month, tapering down. The reason that we're seeing that, though, is it's a change in the type of units, or the quality of units that are transacting. So we had a big jump when there was some higher quality, larger ticket prices coming in, as well as in some of the older communities where you've got more, let's say, dated inventory. Take somewhere like Arjan. You've got a building 10 years old, trading at 1,000 dirhams a square foot. New launch comes in at 1,500 a square foot. That's obviously driving up average prices. So have to remember, it's local. We're talking Dubai as a whole. Break it down community by community. You're seeing different trends in there, where some of the older communities are appreciating faster because of almost quasi-gentrification. And then you've got some of the more, say, the newer communities, or the ones like in a Business Bay and Marina with a big healthy mix, and there has been over time, which aren't seeing as rapid appreciation.
Talk to me about these off-plan launches, because you do the numbers for this, don't you? What was the last estimate you put of how often we were seeing an off-plan launch? So
it's sticking to about the same, one every 18 hours. One every 18 hours, you break it down on a number of units per day, 350, thereabouts. I'm not signing a warning siren right now. They are launching and they are being absorbed, right? So developers are selling these projects. So they're coming to market, and someone like a top-tier developer, Ema, Majid Al Futtaima, they're launching, and the launch is sold out at launch or very soon after, say within the same month, for the majority of the units. Smaller developers taking a little bit longer. As long as absorption stays high, that sales side is fine. The bigger question is, I'm buying something now, what's the market look like in 3 years when it hands over, and what's the intention for that property? If it's end use, probably not a lot to be concerned about. If it's for an investment to, say, get capital appreciation and flip, always be cautious. And if it's for rent, you kind of have to look at it. If someone's saying that it's yielding in the area now at 7 or 8%, no one knows what it's going to be like in 3, 4, 5 years. We can speculate, but oversupply drives down prices. And at some point, every market goes through it, and we are going to have a period of that in the future. The question is when.
I've seen a couple of distressed sales from the off-plan market, units that are being offered, not a huge amount below the original price, but below because people need to shift them. Stuff that was due to be handed over 2025. Is that a worry?
So when you've got, say, 17,000 transactions happening a month and you've only got 2 or 3 distressed sales, probably not. Let's say even if it's 100 distressed sales that are out there right now. When someone buys a property that they're not paying upfront for the whole amount, they have to look at what payments are going to be due and when and make sure that they can afford it. My advice to anyone would be never buy thinking you're going to have the money. Have it, right? Know that you have it there, or be in a position where you might have to sell at a discount. Selling at a discount, I mean, it's very few and far between right now. Yeah, there are some there. We see the transactions come in, but you're talking less than probably 0.5%, even lower than that if we really run the numbers and crunch. You just don't see a lot.
Okay, so we've got mortgage activity as well at a 14-month high, second highest month on record. Now, you can only get a mortgage for something that's already built or something that is built enough to qualify for a mortgage. Are we finally tipping some of these off plans into column 2?
It's very hard to get financing for a property that hasn't got a BCC, a building completion certificate, meaning it's complete, ready to hand over and be occupied. It's a process to go through. The developer has to be approved by lenders for this. There are very few that even choose to go through that process. So there are some that are getting towards handover where that's where you're seeing financing take place. Before handover, while it's still technically off plan, not so much. Most of the mortgage activity is still weighted in favour of new purchase mortgages. So a property purchased and mortgaged in the same month. I think it's 53%, 54% of the activity. Over that, that's a good indication of owner occupancy. Right? They're going in, buying those properties. There's a healthy chunk of bulk mortgages that are in there as well, which typically developers, large investors, and refi activity has sort of tapered down a little bit as well. But the mortgage market is strong. Interest rate cuts, interest rate hikes. I don't think anything slows this down. You had almost the same name as me, Jean Walters, on before talking before. When are we going to see that next rate? I've always been saying after the elections. That December meeting is when we might see a rate cut. How will it affect the market here? Probably keep those mortgage transactions going up.
1 minute left with you. What does all of this mean, particularly that price appreciation that you mentioned earlier, for where we are in the market cycle? Are we hitting a peak?
We're edging towards one, right? We've come up, we're 10.25% above the previous market peak. That market cycle, though, only lasted 2 years, that last market cycle. We're well over that right now, right? We're in 3+ years. It's been slow, steady, moderate appreciation for the most part, right? It's set, from looking at all the indicators, to keep going. But you can never time the bottom and you can never time the top. Everyone wants to know, is it the time to sell? Is it the time to buy? It depends on your situation. For me, if you're not greedy, now is probably a great time to sell. You can lock in decent gains that you know are there. You can realize them. You can exit the market. It might go up another 2%, 5%, 10%, but you lock it in. I'm not talking to you, Brandy, to sell your
I was going to say, you offering me your spare room, Zan?
If I have one.
Right, Zan Jahinki is the man in charge of the numbers for Property Monitor. He's the COO, he's the Director of Market Intelligence and Research at Cavendish Maxwell. Joining us this morning with his May report into what's happening in the Dubai property market, which includes the highest ever sales transaction volumes that he's recorded.